Hello everyone. So this is rapid fire, so I'm going to talk quick and try to cover a good amount of information. So I'm going to talk about some of the biodegradable pot options that are available for use in greenhouse production. And this is work that was done in collaboration with Mike Evans at University of Arkansas and Jeff Keeney at LSU. So basically a biocontainer is any container that's non-plastic that will break down when it's planted into the ground or put into a composting situation. So there's two types. So in all these slides on the left-hand side, you're going to see the direct plant types. So this is the type where you don't take the pot off the root ball, you put it right in the ground, and the roots grow through the container wall. On the right-hand side, you're going to have the compostable types. So these are the types that you need to take off the root ball. However, the container can be put into a composting situation and it will break down. So now I'm going to run through each of these. First, there's the fertile pots. These are made out of peat moss and wood fibers. Jiffy pots, probably the most popular on the market. These are made primarily of peat moss. And there's core pots, straw pots. This is actually rice straw. And there's a little bit of core in this. And then there's cow pots that are made from cow manure. And then the compostable types with paper pots made of paper pulp, rice hull. So it's ground up rice hulls, and then they put a binder in there. And then bioplastic. Now, bioplastic can be made from both corn polymer or wheat polymer. And so we did a lot of different tests. One of the ones we did was wall strength. So we had a wet container. We took a probe, pressed it on the side of the pot, and we measured how much force it took to go through the container wall. So this is to simulate the finger. So in a retail or consumer environment, are they going to pick it up when their finger goes through the wall? Really, the cow and fertile and jiffy pots were the softest. And we felt that they could be problematic in a consumer setting. If a consumer puts their finger through there, what are they going to do? They're going to sit it down and they're probably not going to buy it. And they might not buy anything at that point. Another thing we looked at was water use. So in a greenhouse setting, we measured how much water it took to grow a geranium. The problematic ones here are the ones that use the most water for fertile and jiffy. And you can see they used about twice as much water as the plastic control. On the other hand, the rice hull and the bioplastic use about the same amount. So this is an important consideration, especially if you're in an area where water use is something that you're looking at closely. We also looked at interval, and so your growers are going to go into the house to water every 2.2 days, where when you're using plastic, it's 3.7 days. So also something to consider when you switch into these containers. We did 3 crops in the greenhouse. And this was done at all 3 locations. And we also did these ones in the field. So we planted these all out in the field in the containers, and then there was a plastic control where the container was removed. To summarize this data, all thumbs up. There's no one pot that stood out as better than plastic, no one pot that stood out as worse. We also looked at field decomposition. So this is just the direct plant types. And so this is over an 8-week period. You know, the cow pot broke down the quickest, and then these 3 types of straw, jiffy, fertile, intermediate, and coconut fiber was one that broke down the least. Less than 10% of that pot was gone after 8 weeks. This was not a problem for the annuals. It did not inhibit growth. There has been studies with perennials, and since these are slow to break down, they can inhibit the growth of the crown of the plant. So long-term crops, this is probably one pot you might want to avoid. And here's just a shot of those. Cow pot, I mean, it's hard to even tell that that's there, but the core pot pretty much intact after 8 weeks. Then, for those of you that went on the tour at Longwood, we put these types into our compost stream. And after a composting cycle, we lost more than 90% of that material, which is perfectly fine for our composting situation. So, you know, they say they're compostable. They are. However, I don't know what they're going to do in, you know, like a homeowner's composting situation. They may sit around for quite some time. I'm not sure about that. And so I'm just going to end with a little anecdotal piece. If they're designed that the roots are going to grow through the container wall, well, they're not going to wait until they're in the ground. So if you're growing in a flat, pot to pot, you can get things like this taking place. And so you pull them apart, and this is what you get. So again, it could be an issue in a consumer setting. And so, you know, I would consider these types of pots, these are going to be great for a landscaper. You know, they say 2 steps. First of all, they don't have to take the container off the root ball when they plant, and then they don't have to clean up those pots and dispose of them. So, you know, maybe not great for retail, but from a landscape perspective, pretty good. So, I hope that's some good information, and that's it.